never leave off until you have accomplished that which you set out to do is one of the biggest takeaways that I took from the previous chapter of Dynamic Thought by Henry Thomas Hamblin. That book is in the public domain. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. So glad you found us. And if you did find us at this video and would like to catch up with the previous chapters and lessons, please visit my book playlist and you will access them and more. I wholeheartedly agree with the author on that point, and also that we need to live our life according to a principle. Those words are so true in every aspect of our lives, whether it's parenting, whether we are in business for ourselves, whether we are in public service. I myself, having been in public service for almost all my life, even though I did start in the hospitality field as a teenager working at Burger King, and then later on as a deputy sheriff with Metro-Dade County, and then followed by a short stint in real estate with the Kai's Company. I was recognized as Rookie of the Year. Then I worked at a nonprofit helping people in foreclosure, and recently stepped down from being mayor of our city in Lake Helen, Florida. So I do agree that if you don't stand for something and if you don't live your life according to that principle, when it comes time to make a very serious decision, whether it's life or death, whether it's a financial decision, or something that may affect the lives of many, that ability for you to stand firm in your principles is what's going to lay a foundation of strong will and character that, whether people agree with your viewpoint or not, they will admire and respect you for your strength of character. And I say this coming down from serving as an elected official, especially serving during the time of COVID, where a strong character and steadfast values was so important to bring peace to the community and to bring hope, while still being firm in the conviction that we are going to get through this if we stick together. So at the end of the day, fantastic chapter, fantastic read. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your wine, whatever time of day it is, and let's turn the page to the next part, which is titled The Advanced Postgraduate Lesson. The Advanced Postgraduate Lesson concentrates and condenses the whole of the teaching into one meditation to be used night and morning. It is advanced in that it passes through the I am stage of personal consciousness to the thou art stage of union with the divine mind and spirit. If it is in this respect too advanced for you and you seem to lose touch through it, I would advise you to modify it by using I am instead of thou art. It is hardly necessary to state that it is very important that every thought expressed in the meditation should be realized, felt, and if possible, visualized. Some students find it helpful when they affirm success or health to feel and realize the streams of divine power and life are flowing into them from the one foundation of all life and energy. Others get the best results by a sheer realization of the infinite perfection of the Absolute. With every good wish for your continued progress along these lines. The Advanced Postgraduate Lesson. The object of this postgraduate lesson is to concentrate all the teachings of the course of lessons which you have been studying, to arrange it in such a form that you can make use of it to the greatest practical advantage day by day, and at the same time raise the whole teaching to a higher plane. You have been taught denials, affirmations, visualizing, and meditations. It will now be shown how to combine all these into one exercise, which, if performed in the spirit, as well as the form and the letter, every night and morning, will keep you in health, prosperity, love, joy, and gladness, enabling you to draw around you invisible forces which will shield you from all harm, danger, and disaster. You will also be shown how to draw your loved ones into the same divine influence and thus bless, protect, and enrich their lives as well as your own. At this point, let me say that it is impossible for you to fail or for the laws of the universe to cease to act. Neither can you fail to bring yourself into harmony with these laws if you conscientiously follow day by day the teaching laid down. I do not mean by this that you will immediately be healed of a long-standing infirmity, or that you will be instantaneously delivered from disharmonies and limitations in your life and circumstances, or that you can at once keep out of your family circle evils which have been present for a long time. What I do mean is this, and I want you to pay special heed to what I say. Every time you turn to the infinite mind, the absolute divine center, God, infinite spirit, whatever name you prefer to use does not matter. Neither does it matter if you seek infinite good within you or above you. Every time you get into conscious union with the divine spirit and in touch with the real spiritual world of perfection, and then deny the evil in your life and affirm all the infinite perfections of God, then definitely and with absolute certainty, a portion of evil will be taken out of your life, and a corresponding amount of good will take its place. There is no chance or luck or mistake or missing fire or uncertainty about it. The law is absolute and immutable and can never change or vary. Neither can the infinite power, which is always at your service, fail to operate. The law and power which cause the sun to rise each morning with all its glory, beauty, and majesty and power are the same which operate in your life and mine, and they can no more cease to operate when we, through denials and affirmations, consciously employ them than the sun and our planet could resist the power which sustains them and the law which guides their progress. The law is changeless. In this are our strength and confidence. What we have to do is to harmonize with the law. If we do this, then our life will be gradually righted and our troubles smoothed out. Results always appear to be so slow in manifesting, yet when they do manifest and we look back on the comparatively short time the transmutation of evil into good has taken, we are amazed at its swiftness. When we consider to what straits wrong thinking had brought us, and the great accumulation of evil which past wrong thinking and consequent action had built up, it is amazing that ever we can overcome it in this life and demonstrate the highest good in its place. Yet, it is not only possible, it is being done every day. It is the great possible tribute to the intense power of scientific right thinking. I said just now that the results always seem slow. Some people have to wait years for the realization of their demands, but the building up process which results finally in the accomplishment of their desires is going on daily and hourly and every minute. The point I want to drive home is this: you can never fail once you understand the higher spiritual law of demand and supply and work mentally in the silence each night and morning. You may not see results for many months, but you can rest assured that the change is taking place hourly. The evil is being abstracted and replaced by good. It is not a question of doubt, uncertainty of whether you will be healed or not, or whether you will be successful or fail. For no such question can arise. It is just a case of working steadily on, believing and knowing that the wonderful transformation is taking place until the manifestation appears and the demonstration is made. Every time that you look to your divine source and raise yourself into the higher world of cause, you drive out of your life A little sickness or liability to illness, a little failure, a little poverty of life or soul, a little misery or unhappiness, a little friction and trouble, some weakness of character, some blemish and imperfection, and in their place is brought in a corresponding amount of health, success, abundance, happiness, harmony, peace, strength of character, perfection of soul. The change is so slight, it is not noticed for comparatively long periods, but the work is constantly and surely going on. It will not, however, go on satisfactorily if the mental work done is spasmodic. It is only by regular and consistent, persistent work in the unseen that results can be achieved. The time spent each night and morning need not be long, but the work must be regularly performed, never on any account omitted or slurred over, and one must get into touch with the unseen. Students often write and say, "I cannot give your system the time it deserves. I am so busy." No one is too busy to do what I want them to. No one is too busy to do what I want them to. And in this lesson, it will be seen that a few minutes spent in the silence, night and morning, will embrace the whole of my teaching in past lessons. Of course, results will come more quickly if more time is devoted to this mental work in the unseen. What I am teaching you is the minimum which will bring result. Unfortunately, most people are too busy almost to live. And also, if they are asked to use their mental powers considerably, they get tired and discouraged. Therefore, my object is to make my system take up as little time as possible and yet produce the desired results. Those who can do so should, for their own sake, devote more time. In fact, as much time as they can spare without causing them to neglect family, social, or professional duties. No one can ever be too busy to follow this system, for what has to be done can be done while in bed, or while dressing, or undressing, or walking, although it is better to put aside a few minutes night and morning, especially for the purpose, and he or she must be very busy who cannot manage to do this. An exception has to be made in the case of those who want to find God consciousness and unfold their own divinity. In the lessons of the course, there was a considerable amount of the I will and I can philosophy. It is now sought to introduce you to a higher plane. Incidentally, it will bring you face to face with a great mystery. You will now be taught not to affirm I am this or I am that, but to affirm instead that in God or infinite mind are all the perfect qualities and good that you desire, or which you wish to bring into the lives of others. A life of perfect success, health, harmony, joy, love, and blessedness becomes possible only when we get rid of our finite personality and lose it in the universal mind. You will wonder how it is possible to fill your own life with good and also the lives of others by affirming that it exists in the mind of God. The answer is the greatest mystery of all. It is that the infinite mind of God is hidden within the self of each one of us. The great truth which has been hidden in all religions, but which has never been taught to the multitude, being only revealed to initiates, is that God, or infinite mind, is within man, that God and man are one. The realization of this blinding truth comes only to those who, by patient meditation, gradually unfold the inner self, until at last they get glimpses or flashes of the universal consciousness, which finally merge into full realization. If you desire to probe the great mystery and to unfold your inner self and thus find God, I can say this: if you will sit in meditation daily and seek God, you will surely find him, not in any particular religion or creed or dogma, but in your own soul. The greatest mystics all bear the same testimony, all describe the same experiences, all speak the same language. As Dean Inge says, it is not possible to tell which religion a mystic belongs to, for their experiences are all the same. Therefore, if this is the evidence of the great mystics of all ages and all religion that God is within the soul of man, then it must be true. For this is the only thing upon which all religions and philosophies agree. And it is vital and fundamental. While all the rest, all that makes one religion or philosophy different from another religion or philosophy is non-essential, is mere padding and symbol and verbiage. But the eternal truth lives on and remains unaltered. Religious belief and philosophies alter with their environment and with changes which the passing ages bring. But the eternal and glorious truth that God lives and dwells in the soul of man and is the soul of man, this great truth lives on and will never fade. Therefore, if your desire is to pierce the great mystery and to find your own divine self, your center, the indwelling spirit, the immanent God within the soul, then you must spend much time in the silence, in communion and meditation. This sort of thing cannot be accomplished by the utilization of odd moments, for the more time you spend in meditation, the greater will be the revelation, and the sooner will that revelation take place. Therefore, sit in the silence and meditate on all the wonderful attributes of God. Realize the immanence of God, how He is in everything and in your own soul, that God and you are one. In time, you will get flashes of universal consciousness, glimpses of the blinding truth. These will, in time, give place to what is called transforming union, or as some mystics call it, deification. After that, everything else fades into insignificance. Of great assistance in one's progress towards God consciousness is the study, appreciation, and love of beauty. To spiritually understand a simple wayside flower is to enter into the very heart of God. The greatest attributes of God's character is love. To meditate upon the words God is love is to enter the highest wisdom. If love is the crowning glory of the mind of God, so must it be ours, for God and man are one. I present these thoughts for those of my students who are seeking the deepest wisdom, the greatest joy, the highest achievements of all. They are suggestions only, but if followed, they will lead to results beyond present comprehension. However, this is not the main object of this lesson. The main object is to show how to burn up the evil in your life and bring in a continuous stream of good, but the foregoing helps us to understand what is to follow. My desire is to show you how to work in the highest possible plane, and this is by realization of the infinite perfection of God. By so doing, you will work in a realm of far higher vibration, and thus will you and your life be transformed. It is by looking to and aspiring after God transcendent that you realize the power and presence of the immanent God in your own soul, and you have only to affirm and realize that all things are in God to draw them into your own life. The system which follows brings into play all that you have already learned. It is a combination of meditation, denial, affirmation, and visualization. By using all these methods and powers in order to produce an inward realization of the infinite perfection and plenty of God, and by this realization itself, there takes place a joining of forces between God transcendent and God in your soul, which burns up the evil in your life and fills it with infinite good. Every time that you cause this realization of divine power to take place, a certain amount of evil is destroyed and good is installed in its place. Therefore, there must come a time when the evil will have disappeared to such an extent and good accumulated to a point when the latter can no longer be hid but must manifest in the life. In the lessons which you have already read, I repeatedly warned you against changing your visualization because it would bring confusion into your life. The change which I recommend now will not cause more than a temporary upset in your life. For a few days, there will be a certain amount of disharmony because of the changes in vibration, but that will soon cease. This teaching does not contradict what you have already learned. Instead, it is its consummation. You have been prepared by the lessons which have already been absorbed for the higher lesson which is being taught now. During the lessons, you have been trying to form a clear visualization of what you hope to be and what you hope to achieve. The only alteration that is necessary is to visualize and realize the perfection of God and heaven instead of yourself. You drop the mortal self and find God in its place. Instead of visualizing your own achievements, you visualize and realize the infinite accomplishments of divine mind. Working in this way, you raise the whole tone of your work. You put it up upon the highest possible plane. It is necessary to mention at this point that you cannot actually visualize God, but you can try to. The nearest approach you will ever get will be an inburst of spiritual light. When this takes place, you will know that your treatment is effective. You can, however, visualize all the beauties and wonders and abundance of heaven or the perfect world of mind and spirit. But see this, if you can, as luminous with a heavenly light all its own. Here, let me say that the brighter and more luminous your vision is, and the more bathed it is with spiritual light, the greater will be the results which will be achieved. If you are seeking to demonstrate improved circumstances by visualizing and affirming, then you should keep on doing so and raise your mental work so as to see and realize how infinite plenty and abundance are in God. See wealth and prosperity proceeding like a fountain from the heart of God, showering upon you abundance beyond description. Realize that all things are God's and proceed from God, and therefore yours, because God and man are one. Remember, you can never fail. No matter how poor one can be, nor how desperate and hopeless financial affairs may appear to be, it is impossible for you to fail in your demonstration of abundance. God is the source of everything, is everything. Everything that we need is an expression of God and proceeds from God. The great secret is this, that God withholds nothing from man, for we are part of God, just as leaf is part of a tree. The tree does not withhold its nourishment from the leaf, neither does God withhold abundance from us. In fact, everything is ours already, and if we do not visibly possess an abundance of all good things, it is because we keep good away through negative thinking and through not claiming that which is already ours. Therefore, if you will spend as much time as possible in the silence, both night and morning, affirming and visualizing the infinite plenty and abundance of God, and see all the profusion of God's abundance coming to you. And you realize and affirm that it all comes from God and is already yours. If you will do this regularly every night and morning for as long a time as possible, you can never fail. Sooner or later, the demonstration will be made and you will realize everything that you have visualized and affirmed. It may be 2 years or it may be only a few months before you see results, but all that time the change will be taking place. The ground prepared, the material got together for the demonstration. First in the unseen, then in the seen. This is the law of the universe. I know that many of my readers will say they have souls above such sordid things, but on the other hand, there are those upon whom difficult circumstances, if not actual poverty, press very hardly, and they feel that the first demonstration they must make must be that of prosperity. The visualization must be clear, the affirmation fervent and backed by strong emotion. Also, affirmations should be preceded by denials of poverty and lack. These will help you realize the infinite abundance of the divine mind. Those who wish to demonstrate abundance should follow the above program in addition to the treatment described later on in this lesson. Those who are seeking to demonstrate abundance must not try and accomplish this by their human mind or by using their mind in a hypnotic way. For if they demonstrate wealth in this way, other evil will appear in the life to take the place of poverty. Instead, one must look ever to God and see infinite abundance coming from Him. Also, evil must be denied as much as possible and perfect good affirmed in its place. General treatment. The method I myself employ and which I wish to teach you is as follows. First of all, say earnestly and realize the truth of what you are saying. There is no evil. There is only infinite good. Now rise in spirit to God transcendent and say, Thou art the infinite good, the infinite perfection, the infinite beauty and loveliness. As you say each of these words, visualize them and realize in your own soul what they mean. Try and get a comprehensive and spiritual idea of infinite good all through the universe. Try and realize what infinite perfection is. Now, by your recollection of lovely flowers and glorious sunsets and sunrises, try and understand what God's infinite beauty and loveliness is. Proceed to realize in your own soul the meaning of everything that follows, spending a little time over each so as to get the realization. Thou art the infinite love. Dwell especially on this. Joy, peace, and happiness. Thou art the infinite abundance and prosperity, the infinite success, achievement, accomplishment, persistence, perseverance, patience, overcoming, and victory. Thou art the infinite wisdom, knowledge, truth, light, understanding, justice, equity, honesty, and uprightness. Thou art the sure guide of all who know Thee. Thou leadest man always in the right path, showing him step by step the way for him to travel. Thou art the great solver of all problems. Man can never be perplexed or dismayed, for Thou dost solve all his problems immediately, and the divine spirit within him tells him exactly what to do. Thou art the infinite life and health. There is no disease, sickness, ill health, or infection. Here, deny your own weaknesses and ailments, realizing that they cannot exist in God. There is only infinite life, health, purity, perfection, loveliness, beauty, youthfulness, joyousness, happiness, and love. This will cover every department of your life. Deny especially the troubles, habits, and difficulties of your own life, and realize that they can never exist in God. This will make it easier for you to realize their positive opposites as they exist in God. It is all a question of realization, for it is only when you realize the infinite perfection of God that the treatment becomes effective. When you get the realization, you will become conscious of an inburst of spiritual light, of radiance and glory. Also, you will feel lifted up in spirit in a wonderful manner. Realization is the only thing required because the power of God is infinite and comes into operation as soon as you spiritually realize it within the soul. Therefore, when you realize that there is no disease or failure in God, and that because you are in God and form part of the life of God, there can be no disease or failure in you, these negative evils begin to vanish from your life simply because they cannot exist where God is. You will observe that the whole treatment is a meditation. Therefore, every time you do this, you become more like God and your life more like that of heaven. Every time you treat in this way, you are putting away the old life and its failure and entering further into the infinitely perfect life of the Spirit. If you make a daily habit of thus treating and entering more into the divine life, you will, as the years go by, find your life become more and more harmonious, beautiful, and blessed, and more like that of heaven. At first, of course, the old troubles will persist, but in time, their violence will diminish and they will come less frequently until finally they disappear altogether. Persistence and perseverance are necessary. Many times you will think you are doing no good, but if you will persist and persevere, you can never fail. The results are a foregone conclusion, for you are dealing with immutable law and the infinite power of the Absolute. Therefore, you can never fail. Results may be delayed, owing to accumulated past wrong thinking, but they will surely come, and they will come in this life. The results are not, however, confined to this life, for every time you treat in the manner shown, you are building up your soul body and your spirit body, and thus preparing yourself for the lives which have to be lived after you have shuffled off this mortal coil. According as you build now, so will your life be when this transient passing vapor is finished. He or she is wise who builds well today. It may be as well to say at this point that you should continue to use denials and affirmations at all times during your waking hours. They will not hinder you. Instead, they will speed your work and make your task far easier. Also, they will smooth your pathway and round of life's sharp corners. You may have to live or work in a sea of irritability, yet if you will deny that these things can affect God's creatures and affirm that all is peace and love and joy, the disturbances will quickly pass away. It must be pointed out that the more often you raise yourself into the perfect world, heaven, and turn to divine mind, God, and affirm the wonders and beauties of His character, the greater progress you will make in the new life. The higher your achievements will be, and the happier you will become. I have shown you how to treat for yourself. I will now show you how to treat for others and cure them or be the means of their cure of sickness of mind, body, or estate. What you have to do is to think of the one you wish to help in order to set up mental connection, and then go through the same treatment as for yourself, and at the same time forgetting your friend and losing yourself in getting a clear realization of God. Suppose your friend is ill. You will establish a connection and then turn to God, and what do you find? Instead of a clear realization and a flood of spiritual light, you find a great darkness which cannot penetrate. This is caused by your friend's illness, for illness is absence of God. If, however, you will keep on denying the sickness and illness of your friend, but all the same not remembering your friend, for you must think only of God, and keep on affirming the infinite life and health and purity and radiance of God, you will gradually find the darkness will disappear until, at last, you get the clear realization and the flood of spiritual light. When that takes place, your friend will be either cured or, as is more often the case, partly cured, for it is usually a question of perseverance and persistence until the desired results are attained. This is the true art of divine healing. It is not done by suggestion or mortal mind, but is accomplished simply by the realization of the perfect purity and health of God. In the same way, you can treat each member of your family both night and morning, with the result that they will be kept from all evil and shielded from all harm, danger, disease, and unhappiness. Also, their characters will be transformed and changed into the divine image. Such treatment will bring harmony into the homes where, humanly speaking, such things is impossible. This treatment will perform the so-called impossible, or miracles, simply because it depends not upon any human or finite agency, but solely upon God. It will not keep people here beyond their allotted span, but it will make their lives happy and harmonious while they are here. Proceeding in this way, you will not only be able to make your own life happy, successful, harmonious, and blessed, but you will also be able to bring the highest good into the lives of others. The vibrations of some persons are higher than others, therefore they make better healers, simply because they get a more intense realization. But everyone can help, not only himself or herself, but also others. Some are so vibrant, even the gravest diseases give way before them. But while this is not possible in every case, we can all be healers and blessers of others. And remember this, it is far easier to prevent disease than it is to cure it. It is not so spectacular, but it is much better to prevent evil than to cure it. When treating members of your family, you should deny all evil disease, sickness, ill health, failure, and everything that you wish to protect them from, realizing that these things cannot exist in God. Then affirm their positive opposites and realize they are all in God and a divine mind. Therefore, treat daily, not only for yourself, but also each of your beloved ones in turn separately. To do them in bulk is not so effective, although better than no treatment at all. Each one should therefore be treated for separately. Healing by mental and spiritual treatment can only intensify, strengthen, and help the healing forces of nature. Nature is always trying to heal, and by treatment or constructive prayer, these efforts are helped and given a greater incentive. That is why materialists and doctors say at once that it is a natural recovery. Treatment cannot make a new limb grow where one has been lost. It will not grow a new eye where one has been put out, or where the optic nerve has atrophied. It will not set a broken limb, but it will make it heal quickly and cleanly after it has been set by physical means. Mental treatment and divine healing are wonderful, but they have their limitations, and if certain sects would remember this, they would be saved from much foolishness. Such being the case, it will be seen how much better it is to prevent disease than it is to cure it. Also, how necessary it is to treat spiritually, as early in the case as possible. The usual plan of trying every possible material treatment first, and then when given up to die, to call in a mental or spiritual healer, is not far either to patient or practitioner. In healing the sick, it is not necessary to see them or to go near them. You may be hundreds or miles away, and it will make no difference, for we are all in God, divine mind, and God is in us, and we all form one complete whole. Therefore, it is easy to treat a person hundreds or even thousands of miles away as it is to treat one close to you. You will have an uphill task, however, if the one you are seeking to cure does not cooperate with you. By looking to God and trusting entirely to the influences of the Divine Spirit for healing. If you can get the patient to give up all belief in material means and instead look only to God in the same way that you do, you will find your task very much easier. In fact, results will always be difficult to obtain unless you teach as well as treat. Some will exclaim, "What about all the visualizing I have done? Is that all in vain?" No, it is not in vain. It has served its purpose, and all that you have to do now is to visualize in God instead of in man. By this, you simply use your creative faculty in a higher plane. For instance, if you have been visualizing prosperity and plenty, you will now visualize and realize the infinite abundance of God. You will realize how wonderful and comprehensive is the plenty of the divine universal mind. Perhaps you have been visualizing health, trying to see yourself a perfect and radiant creature. Now you will instead visualize the infinite perfection in life and health of God and heaven. So whatever it is that you need, you will realize that it is in God, and as you realize that it is in God, so will the glorious knowledge and realization come to you that you are in God and that God is in you, that everything is yours, that there is only one complete whole, and you being in harmony with it, enter into possession of all good things. It is therefore only a question of time when these things must manifest in your life. The reason why realizing that everything is in God supplies all your own needs is because God and man are one. Everything that God is and has, man is and has. All that he has to do is to realize it. Therefore, the real thing to aim at is realization, and this will come through the practice of the teaching of this lesson. Some students will ask, but what about the special training of the subliminal mind? This too has served its purpose. It has taught you to still the sense and listen to the voice within. That voice is the voice of God, and your subliminal or superconscious mind is the infinite mind of God, incarnating in this flesh. Therefore, you now realize there can be no separation from God, because God and man are one. Instead of saying, "My subliminal mind will solve all my problems," you will now affirm instead, "God is the solver of all man's problems." You get your own personality, which has been standing in your way and keeping light, truth, and understanding from penetrating your consciousness out of the way, and find to your joy that you are in God, divine mind, and God is in you, that you are one. And being one with God makes you one with all things, all the beauties of the new day, the sweet air, the rising sun, the blue sky, the song of the birds, the fragrant blossoms, the sparkling dew, the radiant life of all these are yours, and you are theirs. We are all one, one with one another and with God in the life of God. You may also ask, what about prayer? Where does that come in? The answer to that question is as follows. Realizing God is the only true prayer. If you examine the writings of all the saints and mystics that have ever lived, you will find they all declare that the only true prayer is the realization of the reality and presence of God. The process of thought which leads up to this is not prayer. It is only primary prayer, or the pathway that leads to the real prayer. When the soul realizes the pure white light and radiance of spiritual glory, it knows that it has found God, not in some distant place, but within itself. And when it has found God, it has found itself. Denials and affirmations are the quickest road to prayer, to that divine realization by the soul of the soul, which makes all things possible. Supplicating and begging things of God never bring any results. It is the prayer which is the realization that all things are accomplished, even before the prayer is made, that receives the answer. It is not a question of getting something because all things are possessed already. It is the realization of this fact which produces what we call answer to prayer. Jesus taught his disciples how to pray, not to use vain repetitions, but to use a few denials and affirmations. Scholars tell us that the authorized version of the Bible does not correctly translate what is called the Lord's Prayer, because it is impossible to give the exact Greek meaning in the English language. The old version, on the other hand, was made from a Latin translation and could not have given the correct meaning, because the Latin has no aorist. Farrar Fenton's translation is as follows: Our Father in the heavens, your name must be being hallowed. Your kingdom must be being restored. Your will must be done in heaven and upon the earth. The form I like best is the following: Our Father, thou art in heaven. Thy name is adored. The kingdom comes. Thy will is done on earth as in heaven. Thou givest us day by day our daily bread. Thou forgivest our offenses exactly as we forgive the offenses of others. Thou dost not tempt us, but keepest us away from evil. This was the prayer consisting of denials and affirmations, which Jesus gave us a pattern. It is upon this pattern that my teaching is based. It is also upon this that all modern spiritual healing is founded. In closing, I have 3 things to say, and they are these. 1. Remember that if you keep on patiently working in the unseen day by day, you are bound to get results in time. Do not refrain from working because you think you have no time, because you can find time if you make up your mind to do so. Let me use a homely illustration. Supposing you had a small piece of ground and no time to dig it. If you said, I cannot dig this ground, I have no time, then the ground would never be dug and you would never get a crop. If, however, you said, the ground must be dug somehow, I must find time, then you will find that in some way you will find time, even if it means getting up 5 minutes earlier, lacing up your boots more quickly and putting it on only 10 minutes at digging every morning. If also at night you took a lantern and did 10 minutes more digging before going to bed, you will see that it would be a matter of time only before your plot of ground got completely dug. In the same way, if you can only snatch 10 minutes night and morning and work in the unseen in the manner shown, there is bound to arrive a time when the result of your work will begin to show in your life and bring forth fruit after its kind. 2. When you have demonstrated the truth of this teaching and brought harmony into your life and family circle, do not get weary in well-doing and rest on your oars and neglect your daily work in the unseen, because if you do, you will assuredly slip back, and your last state will be much worse than the first. Therefore, as long as your life shall last, do not omit ever to get in touch daily with the unseen and renew your spiritual life, which is the source of all your power, success, and health. Everything depends upon what you do in the unseen. If you neglect this, your life will begin to grow wrong immediately. First in the unseen, then in the seen. This is the law. Keep on for the rest of your life to work daily in the unseen, and you will assuredly live a life of perfect peace, power, and accomplishment. You will find that the realization of the infinite perfection of divine being will in time destroy all undesirable habits, great or small, should have any, and by harmonizing with the divine will, all the weakness of the human will must pass away. In Lesson 12 of Course 1, it suggests that you go through the course again. If you do so, notify it by the teachings of this lesson, thus cutting out the human I will and I can, which were very necessary at the beginning, and replace them by the all-embracing thou art. Also, cease not to guard your thoughts and turn them into positive. Meet all difficulties by affirmations of divine power. Realize the infinite power of God and go forward and conquer. You can never fail. You are supported by the greatest of all spiritual powers. 3. Finally, many students have expressed great regret of the course of lessons having come to an end and have said, "Can I not keep in touch with you in some way? I feel lost and lonely now that the lessons have ceased coming." My answer is this: if each student will follow the teaching of this lesson, he or she can never be out of touch, for we shall all be vibrating night and morning at the same pitch. Every time that we work in the unseen, we shall be vibrating in symphony with each other, and thus shall we be mutually helpful to one another. We shall all work more harmoniously in this way than if we met in the flesh, for the flesh is the imperfect and deceptive and gives a wrong impression. But mind, thought, and spirit are eternal and permanent, real and perfect. Therefore, by working daily, night and morning, in the unseen, according to the teaching of this lesson, we shall be in perfect harmony, and who can say what the result may be? For vibrating thus in unison, we're not only benefiting ourselves, we're also making the world a better world and humanity a better humanity through the power of scientific, directed, controlled thinking. Henry Thomas Hamblin. End of the advanced postgraduate lesson, and also the conclusion and end of the reading of the book titled Dynamic Thought by Henry Thomas Hamblin. Before you head out, let me know you are here. Post a comment. Give me your feedback. What was the greatest takeaway you had of this lesson or any of the lessons in the book? And share this with your friends. Let's raise humanity. Be blessed.